the governor of the state himself obeys the sit at home on Monday, and then the civil servants that work in government house obey the sit at home, and government shut down on Mondays, it means the real governor of Southeast is Simon Ekpa, ruling the Southeast from Finland.
Now, having listened to the Senate president, I think it's becoming clear that the people, or rather the governors of the region, have lost total control of the people, that the people do not obey them, the people do not give reference to their directive. And again, let us equally look at a major reason this is happening. Because for me, I think it's purely because of marginalization, it's purely because of neglect of the region by the ruling class, or rather by the political class. This time around, I'm going to play another video, of course, of a House of Rep member who raised serious issues about neglect of the region in terms of project. This time around is zero allocation, according to the man. Just watch and see for yourself.
When will Southeast even have lion's share in any particular project? Mr. President, if this is an omission, it is an expensive omission. The Southeast cannot continually to be treated the way Nigeria is treating the Southeast. Let me give you an instance. Out of the dams that were listed here on the Southeast, IGBO Dam was last funded about 12 years ago with a 5 billion naira spent on it, and it has been abandoned by Nigeria for the last 12 years. I had written 3 letters to the Ministry of Water Resources. We have done everything possible to see if they can bring up IGBO Dam, and here a zone is allocated 66 billion and the entire South is at zero. What kind of omission is that?
Mr. President, I think we should be very mindful of commenting on the infrastructure.
Of course, having listened to the House of Rep member from the region, of course, an Igbo man, I think it's becoming clear why the people have lost confidence in the government. Of course, this time around talking about dam, that even as some regions have about 60 billion allocated and the whole of the Southeast have zero allocation in that regard. And again, when someone raises issue of the light rail projects, that the Southeast is excluded from that project, the only explanation, or rather the only explanation the leadership of the House could give is that they should wait for supplementary budgets. And up to date, I don't think there has been any supplementary budget to address that. And this time around, this particular issue being raised by this House member, just as they were asked to wait for supplementary budget in the issue of light trade, this time around, I don't think there's any explanation. I don't think there's any time in sight. They're expected to wait for the region to be accommodated when it comes to that dam. This is purely unacceptable. So if perhaps you are looking for a reason why you are seeing people not having confidence in government or disobeying government in that region, I think you are beginning to see the reason. But again, that takes me to what transpired in the country immediately after the Civil War. Don't forget that Gowon was the one that prosecuted the Civil War, and he was quick to say that to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. That was his slogan. And immediately after the war, he came up with the issue of 3R, talking about reconciliation, reconstruction, and reintegration. We understand that many years after the Civil War, the government have not given attention or priority to this 3R, because if we look at the southeastern part of the country that is ravaged by that Civil War, it have not been reconstructed. When it comes to issue of reintegration, the people have not been properly reintegrated, because reintegration means when it comes to what rightfully belongs to them in terms of sharing formula should get to them. Rather than getting it, we are seeing serious level of marginalization in every area you take attention to. Then when it comes to actually reconstruction, I think that have not been given any attention at all. So I think it's becoming clear why the people do not have confidence in the government. And again, We have taken note that the government is serious about Nigeria being one. But again, I think when it comes to issue of agitation, self-determination, of course, that is what marginalization stands for. We should understand that even Nigeria is a signatory to a UN charter that talks about self-determination. I think that best explains the reason. If you go through all the charges preferred against marginalization, you will not see anything that has to do with self-determination. I think that's because the government know that it is a right that everybody has. Hence, it is a UN charter that will ratify in Nigeria. But again, the way it is, I think the government should be courageous enough to confront this issue. When I mean courageous enough, the government should be able to ask people, where do you want to belong? By a way of referendum. I think the government should summon courage to invite perhaps UN, European Union, and organize a referendum. Because the way it is, by providence, God created people in their different ways. In Nigeria, for instance, the Yoruba man is created distinctly by his language given to him by God. The same thing is applicable to the Hausas. The same thing is applicable to the Igbos. The same thing is applicable to every other minority in the country. However, it is not out of place for the people to come together under the Semitic court, Nigeria. But it has to be through unanimous agreement, not through coercion as we have currently. Because the ground on the constitution that binds everybody together is a creation of the military. Of course, we go to the preamble of that constitution, it tells you that we the people of Nigeria. And if you go and check, there's never time in the history of this country that the people came together to write that constitution. So, and that is why people have been yearning for a people's-oriented constitution. Of course, we had the issue of confab, and unfortunately, the government of Jonathan did not stay longer enough to address or to see whether they could push that confab to become part of the constitution. But currently, what we are saying is the government should be courageous enough to address it. Because it is not just about Biafra. The other time we saw the likes of Sodebo going to United Kingdom with his group to submit a letter to the office of the Prime Minister demanding or rather requesting that they want their Oduduwa nation. But at the time we saw the British High Commission in Nigeria here advising Sodebo and his likes to join hands with other member European Union, to join with other Nigerians, I mean to say, to move Nigeria forward. I begin to ask, when Britain needed to exit European Union, nobody from Nigeria acknowledged them to stay back in European Union and join hands with other member European Union countries to move the Union forward. But what transpired was that the minority had their say and majority had their way, and as we have it today, they already exited European Union. In the same vein, if the best UK could do is to see to the fact that Nigerian government peacefully arrange for a referendum. And when that happens, I think the government should canvass a superior opinion if they have any. And of course, if they canvass the opinion and their opinion is superior, of course, when it comes to voting proper, I understand that people will vote against seceding from the country. And that will put an end to anything people agitating that they want to secede. Because the way it is, just like a Professor Shenka will always maintain, that Biafra is an ideology, that you can only defeat it from an ideological point of view. And that you cannot defeat it through the power of God. I think we have already seen that playing out. Because it's part of the fact of arresting, prosecuting the lives of Nnamdi Kanu, even some other part himself in Finland. I don't think that have deterred people from agitating. We have seen the lives of Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Ogenkere, jostling to take over the position of Samurai. So you got to show that people are not deterred from whatever comes out of prosecution. I've equally seen the lives of Senator Nedu Nwoko, of course, the senator representing Delta North in the Nigerian Senate, making it very clear that if you arrest Samurai, that 175 will emerge. I think that is equally playing out. So the point here is, hence, issue of marginalization have been identified, and the government is for dragging and addressing it. Is it not better that they summon courage and organize referendum? Because the way it is, the people from the region, talking about eastern part of the country, have completely exited Nigeria from their minds. And the Bible says, can two work together except they agree? Obviously, no. So Nigerians have actually divided in their mind. It is the battle of gun that is keeping people together. And the only way you can bring people together is by addressing the root cause of all this agitation. Is by making sure that all the issues that make people talk about secession, whether the Oduduwa Nation, whether the Biafra Republic, is addressed. If it's not addressed, it's a matter of time you see another person rising to start leading the agitation. Even today, Ananda Ndekalo is under prosecution. Samanepa is under prosecution. But if the root cause of the agitation is not addressed, certainly people will call it rise to agitate. So the earlier it's addressed, the better for everyone. I must say very thank you for your time. This is LAMENT.